This is the entrance to one of Oxfordshire's most secret and most impressive Neolithic monuments. It's a stone circle surrounded by a henge, a ditch, and then a berm, and then a bank. It is one of the 7 largest stone circles in Britain. A very impressive site. But for many years, nobody knew it was here at all. Now it's in the middle of Dix Pit, near Stanton Harcourt, and it can be visited once again. I'm now going to show you the walk towards it in the one of the entrances, and show you the ditch, the berm, which is a flat bit between the ditch and also the mound which has been built behind it. There you are. You can just about see that. It's quite difficult, but near the trees is where you have the earth from the ditch has been piled up, and there's a sort of processional berm, it's called, it's BERM, which allows you to walk between the ditch and the bank. This monument is not a camp. As you can see, it would make no sense to have the ditch inside the bank if it was meant to be defensible. So it is a ceremonial monument of some kind. I'm now going to track back and show you the sheer extent of this very large stone circle. It is a recreated monument because from the Saxon times onwards, this was ploughland. It was heavily ploughed, and only 3 stones were standing in the 17th century when it was visited by John Aubrey, the 17th century antiquarian. John Aubrey said in his Monumenta Britannica that this was a stone circle. But there were only 3 stones standing, and possibly not in one of them, at least not in its original position. The next person to visit it was, well, not the next person to visit it, but one of the next experts to visit was O.G.S. Crawford in the 1920s, who wrote a very useful book called The Long Barrows of Britain, I think. And he didn't believe that it was a stone circle either. He couldn't believe it because by this stage the land had been ploughed so heavily that it was completely flat. Luckily, W. Allen in a little aeroplane took photos, and it was visible as a crop circle, which is how we know it was here. In 1940, they decided that they needed an airfield in this area, and so they covered the whole thing up with an airfield and concrete and so forth. But luckily, W. Grimes, Grimes, from Oxford University came and did a really splendid survey of this whole area, because it may be the only surviving monument, but it was set in a ceremonial landscape whereby there were round barrows and possibly a place for, I'm trying to think what it's called, putting out bodies to rot. And all that now has been taken away by the government. This is the equivalent of Dorchester and Oxford, which also has been heavily gravelled. However, they left this bit here. The Amy's Gravel were allowed to take the gravel from the outside of this monument and also to take it from the inside, but they had to leave the ditch and the areas where the stones had been. They had to leave that, and this was then subsequently excavated. Some of it was. Span forwards a bit. In the year 2000, I came to visit this site. I had to have special safety induction, and the manager of the site then didn't know what it was all about. I told her and gave her the published book on the topic, which is in second-hand form, will still be available. And she started setting aside bits of conglomerate rock, which she thought might be useful if it was going to be redone. The site was then restored by Oxford Archaeology, and frankly, they've done a good job. Is it like the original? Well, the stones are not the original. Some are, but most aren't. But they have been put in the place where there were the original stones. Of course, now it is entirely surrounded by lakes and a nature reserve, so it's no longer in its context whatsoever. I'm going to now walk to the centre of the circle. Here, the centre, which you can see, is a slightly different colour. There's less, for some reason, there's slightly less of this rather nice ground ivy. And here, there were some wooden uprights. Unfortunately, this centre has also been scooped out. It's really unfortunate that this is such a degraded site, but I think it justifies what's been done to it. And I'm going to just pan round to show you the whole of the circle. The ditch and the bank are bigger than Avebury. The henge is bigger than Stonehenge. Of course, we don't know what the original stones were like, though there's a couple that are genuine. But it's still a really nice site, and I suggest that anybody who wants to have pagan ceremonies, this would be a good place to do it. And also, it's a really nice place that they've now opened up various footpaths and you can get to it. I hope to come here one midsummer or at the solstice to see if there's anything that suggests these stones have been so arranged as to point out the rising sun or the setting sun. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. You can find out more on my website, which is www.celiahaddon.com/standing stones.